In this video, I'm gonna show you 5 basic portrait concepts you can pull off in any park. What's up, friends? My name is Pi. Welcome to SLR Lounge. Let's get right into this. Tamron has sent me 2 awesome lenses that we're gonna use, and I'm just gonna walk you guys through some basic portrait concepts you can pull off in essentially any park. On my left side, I have the Tamron 28-75, I believe. This is an f2.8 zoom lens, and it's paired with the Sony a7R4. On my right, I have the 70-180, so we have a little telephoto that's at f2.8. Both these are fantastic lenses. They come in at a good price point, but let's get to shooting. So first, I'm gonna put this away, introduce you to Sabrina. Come on out, my friend. This is Sabrina. She's my friend. You guys can follow her on Instagram at Sabrina Miko, and Sabrina's also a dancer. So we might incorporate some of that into our shots. Let's start with kind of the first concept. We're in a spot that is really beautifully backlit. And that's kind of the first idea that I want to give you guys is whenever you're in a park and you see something that's kind of backlit with foliage, you'll get a really great look and great depth. First, I'll show you what not to do. So Sabrina, come stand over here. I'm going to put her in direct sunlight. And you'll also notice that we're shooting in a direction where we don't have a lot of good background depth, meaning like the background's pretty far away and it's just not gonna look great. Plus, she's lit very harshly. What I'm gonna do though is take a before shot because I gotta make my befores look as bad as possible, even though Sabrina looks great, but the before is not gonna be good. But that's on me, Sabrina, not on you. All right, we're gonna bring this to 1/2000 of a second, f2.8. and ISO 100. And let's go ahead and just take this quick before shot. And I'm actually gonna get a little bit closer so we can also kind of shoot with a similar frame to compare the before versus the after. Okay, we've got our crappy before photo. The first technique that I wanna walk you through is actually backlighting and shooting into foliage. And the great thing about this, Sabrina, why don't you come on over here? The great thing about this is that you don't need to be doing this during golden hour or anything like that. This is like 4 or 5 hours before the sun actually sets. As long as you have a bit of direction to the light, you're good to go, especially because you have a park that has a lot of good trees and foliage. What I'm gonna do is place Sabrina right in a spot where ideally I have some backlighting that's kind of landing on her. I'm gonna make some tweaks in just a second. But I would say the recipe to this is as you're dialing in your settings, what I wanna do is I have the 28-75. I wanna first zoom in to around 75, and if you have the 70-180, great, use that. But for now, let's go ahead and use this lens. I'm gonna shoot it wide open, which again for this is at f2.8, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just find a shutter speed that's gonna work, okay? So from where we were, I'm gonna bring my shutter speed down to about 1/500 of a second, and I might even bring my ISO up a little bit, so that way I can just kind of keep my shutter speed a bit quicker and take a look at my overall settings. And right about there, it's good. From here, I'll take a basic shot of Sabrina, kind of in the same sort of crop and composition we did before. And immediately, if you compare that to the before shot, it's 1,000 times better, but we're still gonna improve on that. Now, go ahead and give me like a little bit of pose where I can kind of kick the hip a little bit. And what I wanna do is, I'm gonna bring you forward a tiny bit where you're out of the light. I wanna demonstrate one small thing that I like to tweak here. I love that. The arms look great right there. Okay. What I'm gonna do as a final adjustment here is move her feet just a little bit so we get some hair light. So all you're gonna do, Sabrina, is kind of step back a little bit. And my trick to this is just having them look at the shadow and making sure that their head, I don't know what kind of garbage that is, but making sure their head is basically backlit by the sun so they can see their head, you know, creating a shadow on the ground. And we see that right here. So as soon as she does that, we get a really beautiful backlight right on the hair. That's really cute. Sabrina, go ahead and move with it a little bit. I love that. Here's the before versus the final. This one's a super simple technique, I know, but what I love about it is that you can do this anywhere. And it does a great job of separating the background. Really, all you gotta do on either of these lenses is open up to f2.8, place them against something backlit, and you get this really nice separation and background effect that really isolates the subject. Let's go and find something else. We're at our second spot, which is literally 5 feet from our first spot. So this is technique number 2. We're gonna call it the reflector bump. Maybe this is cheating a bit, but I like to go out with one of these. This is just the inside scrim of like a standard 5-in-1 reflector. right? I don't think it's cheating because this is like a $20 accessory that each of you probably should have anyway, and I love to have handy. I'm gonna show you in this case how we're basically gonna use the reflector to add an additional light to the scene. I can do it all myself. Enough talking, let's just show it. So Sabrina, what I'm gonna have you do is actually step in. We're gonna use this tree as a posing element. So she's gonna pose kind of against it, and I'm gonna go maybe to around 50 millimeters on my focal length. And what I'm gonna look to do is kind of get a nice exposure for Sabrina and for my background, okay? So I'm kind of looking at it right here. I'm at 1/500th, f2.8 and ISO 200. And this is already like a pretty nice shot, I would say. What's happening here and what I wanna show you guys is we have this direct sunlight that's coming through here. It's hitting the ground and we're getting some fill light coming back up into Sabrina's face. The only problem with this is that not only is she a bit dark, but that fill light is coming bottom up and it's pretty powerful. So we get a little bit of uplighting on the face, which isn't that natural. So what you're gonna do is grab your little scrim. And here's what I would say is I love using the white side of a scrim because it's super versatile. And what we're gonna do here is bounce this direct light right into Sabrina's face. In fact, if I actually add it, you can see how much of a difference it's gonna make. So from here, holding it up into that direct light and bringing it down, makes a huge difference in terms of the light on our face and adds a lot of catch light. It cleans up the color of light on the face, all of it. So with the exact same camera settings and now kind of shooting from this angle where basically this tree kind of frames Sabrina, we have some nice depth in the background. From here, I'm gonna go ahead and actually bring this up. And you might be wondering, Papai, I don't have an assistant. Neither do I. Check this out. My head is my assistant. I learned this from jiu-jitsu. I use my head a lot in jiu-jitsu. Okay, so I'm just gonna bring it over here so it's lighting the face. And from right there, Sabrina, go chin down and eyes right into my camera. Beautiful, just like that. Perfect. Give me a couple of looks with it. Take a look at the before versus the after. Remember, exact same camera settings. What I love about this reflector bump technique is it looks like we're basically adding flash, but we don't have to carry around a flash with us. It's as simple as just a foldable 5-in-1 reflector or the scrim inside of it. We get a massive difference in our shot. Now, a quick rundown. Again, what you're looking for with this kind of a technique is some spot where I can get sort of even light on my subject, where she's kind of standing in the shadows. You could also put her in a spot where she's being backlit, but we wanna have direct light that's bouncing off the white. And then we're getting fairly close, shooting around 50 millimeters or so. So that 28 to 75 is gonna be the ideal focal length. Just make sure that you're not framing your subject too far towards the edges because there will be a bit of distortion. Let's go on and find something else. Okay, I dig this spot. We're gonna go to technique number 3, which we're gonna call open shade, okay? Let me walk you through what I love about this. This is just a tree that you would find everywhere, but it's thick enough that it's kind of blocking all the sunlight. So we're getting really good shade right here. I also love the fact that the leaves are kind of nice and they're evenly shaped and whatnot, and they also have different tones of green. So what I'm thinking is, Sabrina, why don't you come over and sit right here to give me an example? Because I call this open shade because one side is basically shaded and the other side is completely open. So on this side, we're open to the sky, and this is where our light comes in. So as soon as Sabrina's sitting right here, you notice that we have this really beautiful, soft light on the face because the sky, this open sky, is kind of lighting into the shade, right? Open shade. To add a little bit of interest to this, I am gonna break off a little leaf. If this part triggers you, look away. Hello, Mr. Tree. I will just take this one piece. Okay, just a nice little leaf to sort of add a little bit of shape to the shot. I'm gonna have her hold it. We're gonna use it to kind of lead into the face, just kind of play around with it a little bit and kind of bring some of the background more into the foreground a bit and add a bit of interest. On this one, I'm gonna switch out to the 70 to 180, just because I have it. It's a little bit better for these kind of close-up portraits. It'll pull the background a little more forward. Might as well use it. What I might do is just bring the shutter speed down. She's not moving quickly or anything. I also like that she's bringing the elbows in, and what that does is it creates a taper on the shoulders, which is really nice. So as I kind of crop right at that shoulder line, it sort of tapers in like that. That's really nice. I'm gonna get a little closer. And what I'm gonna do is also angle a little bit to this side. So if I shoot from this angle, I can get a little more of the leaves behind you. So rotate, actually stay right there. Stay right there, and yes, bring it right there. Give me a soft smile, Sabrina. There you go. And now start to kind of cover the eyes, or like kind of almost point to the eyes. Straighten the face towards me, and like even turn a little bit towards me. Right there, right there. Perfect. Bring it back a little bit so it's not quite touching that. There it is, right there. Brush the bangs.
Better?
Yep. You can control the shape of that light by just simply controlling your direction. So when I shoot straight on like this, it's gonna be a really nice and beautiful flat light. But as soon as I start taking an angle, the light takes some shape as well. We start getting a little more dimension in the light. So we get a really fun and interesting look. And honestly, we could do anything in this spot. Open shade is a fantastic spot just to get any type of portrait. And know that you have that sort of flat light coming right on from the front. And then as you move to the side, you get more directional light, and you can shoot from any of these directions. So open shade, great tool, use it. Let's find something else. Okay, we have a great scene here for technique number 4. We're gonna shoot through the grass and kind of compress the scene. Now what's gonna be awesome about this, we'll have this foreground of grass that kind of leads up to our subject that's backlit. Let's walk through sort of things to consider, right? Starting with the gear, well, lens-wise, I would recommend something longer. So of course, in this case, we're gonna use the 70 to 180 because it'll allow us to compress. It'll allow us to kind of zoom in a bit, stand further back, and really bring the foreground and background sort of closer to the subject. We're not gonna get into the details other than just use that focal length. It looks cool, all right? Now, another thing to consider is the scene itself. I have Sabrina here. Sabrina's actually a dancer, like I mentioned earlier, and she has her point shoes. So I actually have her put her point shoes on, and I'm gonna have her step out to here. We'll do the shot just as like a basic portrait, and I think it'd be fun to kind of incorporate her incredible dance skills and get an action shot as well. The first thing you might be thinking, Sabrina, stay right there for a sec, is when you get to a scene like this, you know, you get overly enthused. You're like, man, this is gonna be rad. We got backlit grass. It's gonna look so cool. So you just kind of like pull up to the scene, and all you start doing is kind of thinking composition, thinking like, you know, all right, let me get my settings dialed in. I'm gonna go to let's go to 1/1000th of a second, and we'll bring this down like ISO 100. And let's make sure from our histogram we are good. There we go. Okay, and so you shoot a shot like this one. And again, it's not bad. Sabrina's already making it great in and of itself. It's not a bad shot per se either, but we really haven't put a lot of thought into this. So I want you guys to slow down and kind of piece some things together. First thing I want to show you is the hair light. Look, if I'm down low and I shoot this image right here, with her head against a brighter background, we don't notice the hair light as much as if I kind of move my angle a little bit and shoot her over something that's darker. Now she pops. So that's the first thing I want you guys to think about, is where you want to shoot against to get your subject to pop. The next thing is I'm gonna find an angle where I can get a little bit lower and shoot through all the backlit objects, which is basically about right here. So what we're gonna do now is, Sabrina, you're gonna walk into the scene. I'm gonna find a spot for her where she's still backlit because the sun's up higher, right there. So Sabrina, right there, turn around. That's it. So she's still backlit. We have this beautiful scene. I even have some foreground stuff kind of leading in if we're able to capture it in there. And now I'm gonna lower my perspective to shoot across the frame. So from here, Sabrina, you don't have to do anything dance related yet. Let me just kind of zoom in and get this shot as just a basic portrait. So maybe just bring the hands kind of together a little bit. There you go, right there. This will be our basic portrait. I'm gonna get a little higher so that that leaves in the background don't kind of compete with her. Beautiful. And already that's a really nice shot. Now we're gonna go ahead and add the action piece to it. So this is where I'm gonna have her go on point and, well, do her thing. Got it. She's in a spot where not only do we have a hair light, we have kind of that light landing on the feet, landing on the arms. It does a beautiful job of like really lifting her out of the background. We're done with this technique, but whatever she wants to do dance-wise, I'm gonna shoot a few more of them. Fifth and final technique is shooting into a brighter part of the background and in a park that's very easy to do. See, our eyes are naturally drawn to the brightest part of a frame. So what I love to do is place my subject in a spot where I can kind of shoot against a nice bright opening. In a park, that's basically like openings in the trees like you see in the background where the sun's coming through. And what this does is it draws us right into our subject. To do this, I'm gonna have Sabrina actually step into this little spot. So we're gonna shoot on a train track, but don't worry, relax. It's a kiddie train track. This is the only train track that is okay to shoot on. It's a baby one. Plus it's closed down. Go ahead and have a seat. And what I'm gonna do is, you could kind of shoot from up here. And I'm gonna demonstrate this for just a second. Like, notice that I'm gonna shoot this at let's go to 1/500th of a second, ISO 200, and f2.8, right? And shooting from up here, we don't really have much going for us. And I know that you guys don't have train tracks probably in your park. That's not the point of this. The point is the background. I want to show you what happens as I start to come down lower, and I can actually frame Sabrina right against that highlight in the background. Notice, by the way, I've also had her sit in that bright spot where the sun is landing. So we're going to frame her right here against that background. Beautiful. Cute. Lean into the legs a little bit, kind of pull into it. Now what this does is, compared to that shot where I'm standing, notice how the shot where I'm standing, it's not that interesting, number one, but the second thing is that we look at the subject and then we look right at that bright spot, right? But as soon as I get down low, my subject is placed against the bright spot. So it has this natural vignetting effect. And again, when you're in a park, all you need is just an opening in the trees where the sunlight's coming through. And that's it. So she's in the shade, we have the opening, and we're good to go. I'm gonna get a couple more shots, but that's it. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, comment below, let me know what you think. If you dig it, maybe we'll do a part 2 on more techniques of shooting in a park. I also gotta say that I love these lenses. I think for the price point, they really offer a fantastic value for what they can do and the quality they can achieve. Also, we'll be linking up Sabrina so you guys can give her a follow. You can also see everything that we used in the description of the video, and I'll see you guys back here next time. Peace.